Fantasy fans, what's up? I'm James Koh. He's Marcas Grant. You can find us on the NFL Fantasy Live Show on NFL.com and NFL Network. We've got our first edition of Fantasy Fights. Let's do it. It's debuting here on YouTube. Marcus and I are going to be duking it out on quarterbacks. Using the comment section below, let us know which of us did the better job arguing our respective players. And the winner will appear on Friday's edition. Either one of us will appear on the Friday night edition of Fantasy Fights. And we're going to get things kicked off in round one. Drew Brees or Peyton Manning. I think this is going to be a battle more exciting than Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, although that's not saying much.
That's saying a lot. No.
All right, passing yards. As you can see, Drew Brees, always a statistical monster in that category. Touchdown-wise, 33 touchdowns. There's 39 touchdowns for Peyton Manning. Fantasy points, the only thing that matters. 312 points for Peyton Manning. A little over 300 for Drew Brees. So, Marcas Grant, I ask you this. Who are you taking in this battle?
I'm taking Peyton Manning in this one. I mean, this is the guy who has been the gold standard for fantasy quarterbacks throughout the duration of his career. I mean, you go back, only twice in his career when he has played a full season has he had fewer than 4,000 passing yards. One of those was his rookie year when he was still trying to figure out how things work in the National Football League. This is a guy who has almost is guaranteed for 4,000 yards, 30-plus touchdowns, and yes, maybe he's losing arm strength, but you look at the weapons around him, whether it's Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, he's got C.J. Anderson in the backfield. He has a plethora of guys to throw the ball to, and I think he's another guy who, considering his draft price, you're talking about getting him in the 5th round or later, the numbers he will put up are going to be just as good as anything you can find before him or after.
All right, after. I disagree wholeheartedly. Afterwards, you're going to find Drew Brees. You're going to find Drew Brees about 10 picks later. You talk about average draft position. Look, he's the 5th quarterback off the board. NFL.com rankings, we've got him as the 5th QB, a ranking that I totally disagree with because he's going about 10 picks after Manning. And again, remember, in fantasy, it's all about relative value. If I could channel Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, big mistake. Big. Huge. Peyton Manning, man, absolutely fell apart late last year. And how about this, man? You want to talk about consistency? In 4 of the past 6 seasons, Brees has either been number 1 or number 2 among fantasy quarterbacks, a feat that Peyton Manning can't say. And, oh, by the way, he's been a top 6 fantasy quarterback in those 6 years. No quarterback, we're including Aaron Rodgers in the mix, can say that. So you talk about the king of consistency. I really, really like Drew Brees. He's a yardage monster. And, again, he led the league in passing yards again last year. I see him doing it again in 2015. And here's the thing, man. Peyton Manning. I mean, you look at the deep ball. And you look at late last year. The deep ball was just non-existent last year. And then in the preseason, he's, again, not found that touch deep. So, again, I'm going Drew Brees.
You don't need the deep ball when Demaryius Thomas can take it to the house.
All right. Might be a good point. Anyways, we're going to let you guys vote on that one. Round 2 now. 2 quarterbacks that you could have as your starting quarterback, but obviously come with some confidence issues. Similar rankings, though. Tony Romo versus Matt Ryan. Let's take a look at their stats here. Tony Romo for the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys versus Matt Ryan, the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Let's take a look. Obviously, passing yards for Matt Ryan, vastly superior to that of Tony Romo. Touchdowns. This is where Tony Romo has a slight edge. He's got 34 touchdowns last year versus just 28 for Matt Ryan. And again, fantasy points, the only thing that matters. Matt Ryan was the man there. I'm going to ask you this, Marcas Grant. Are you going to make the right call and pick the right quarterback? Who do you got?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to pick Matt Ryan. He's the right call and the right quarterback. And you look at the numbers, yes, I saw that the interceptions were up, the touchdowns were down compared to Tony Romo, but those passing yards were up, and he plays in an offense that's going to throw the football more. The one thing you can say about Tony Romo, he's efficient, but certainly he's not a guy who throws the ball all over the yard quite like Matt Ryan does. I mean, he's got guys like Julio Jones. He's got Roddy White. He has I was going to say Tony Gonzalez, but no, it's Levine Toilolo. But still, he's a guy who's going to throw the ball all the time. He's going to throw the ball a whole lot more. And even if the interception numbers are up, the yardage numbers will make up for it. And this is a guy who has been finishing in the top 10 among fantasy quarterbacks over the last few years.
Yeah.
Tony Romo's kind of one of those fringe guys who's hanging around the bottom part of that 10, probably just outside the top.
All right, let me tell you something here. You are wrong, sir. You're dead wrong. You're dead to me, man. Hey, no, listen. Tony Romo, his ADP is in the 7th round. And here's the thing. We always talk about relative value, and I know our boy Michael Fabiano is always telling you to take quarterback late. Tony Romo's a guy, man. 7th round? He's going 2 rounds after Matt Ryan. Romo's biggest downfall last year was that he didn't throw for enough yards. We saw it in the statistics there. Just 3,700 yards last year. That's his lowest yardage output in 5 years. But this is what I'm thinking here. No DeMarco Murray. What's going to happen? The Cowboys, they got to throw more. They got to throw more. I think 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns is a real possibility. Not only is he going to be a top 10 quarterback, not only is he going to be a top 8 quarterback, I could see him being somewhere hanging around top 5 or 6. And I'll say this, too. The NFC East is just bloody awful against fantasy quarterbacks.
This is true.
You look at Philadelphia, the New York Giants, and Washington. They were 3 of the worst 7 teams against fantasy quarterbacks. I look for that trend to continue.
So I'll say this. The NFC East might be awful against quarterbacks. The NFC South is just flat out awful.
Very good point. Again, you can vote in the comments section below who won that round and who won this fight. But we got round 3 coming up. This is like a solid Street Fighter tournament. You got to go 3 rounds, right?
Round 3. Fight.
All right, we talk about quarterbacks again. Superstar wide receivers they have, but Eli Manning and Matt Stafford, who's going to be the better fantasy quarterback? Odell Beckham Jr., the hottest trend in wide receivers for Eli Manning, but Calvin Johnson, old reliable Megatron for Matt Stafford, the Georgia product. So let's take a look at their stats here. 4,400 yards for Eli Manning, 4,200, a little bit surprising and disappointing for Matt Stafford. The touchdowns, 22 for Matt Stafford and 30 for Eli Manning. And again, much more fantasy points for Eli Manning than Matt Stafford. So the decision should be easy in this one, right? You're going Eli Manning.
No, I am not.
How dare you?
Because that's the easy decision is to go with Matt Stafford. We're talking about playing in a pass-happy NFL. The Lions might be the pass-happiest offense around. And the numbers last year were down a little bit, but part of that had to do with Calvin Johnson not being completely healthy. They had to spread the ball around. They had to run the football a little bit more. We saw Reggie Bush and Joique Bell get a little more involved in what they do. This year, Megatron is back and healthy and doing Megatron-type things. You got Golden Tate making plays like that. And on top of it, he got this new weapon, this kid named Amir Abdullah. He has been turning heads all throughout the preseason. The hype train is out of control for Amir Abdullah. Not only can he run the football, he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. And yeah, they do still have Joique Bell, who can be a nice complement in that backfield as well. There are plenty of weapons here, and it's their second year under offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi, who ran that Saints offense you seem to like so much.
I do like that Saints. There's no question. You mentioned Amir Abdullah. I almost changed my mind. But no, listen. The right choice is Eli Manning. And again, it all comes down to me, at least for relative value. Eli Manning is going in the 11th round. This is 5 rounds after Matt Stafford. This shouldn't even be a question. Not only did he have a better fantasy season last year, he's going 5 rounds later than Matt Stafford. I'll take that all day long. And oh, by the way, did I mention the NFC East is horrible against quarterbacks? Another year under Ben McAdoo's system. I always want to keep calling him Bob McAdoo because I'm an NBA fan. But no, Ben McAdoo's system here for Eli Manning. And another year of Odell Beckham and his fabulous hair. And the team added Cal running back and Shane Vereen, so you can't go wrong there. Look, I see Eli Manning actually outperforming Peyton Manning this year. Yes, I did say it. And he's going to crack into the top 5. I really like Eli Manning. Given the fact that, again, his draft price is in the 11th round, if I wasn't drafting Aaron Rodgers or Andrew Luck in the first round, like I'm going to be doing in most of my fantasy leagues, if I'm waiting on quarterback, I just have to take Eli Manning. And the reason and oh, by the way, the reason I'm not taking Matt Stafford, and it can't be stated enough, the OC is great, I get it, but it's a top-down system. Jim Caldwell is a defense-first guy. I've never been impressed with his offensive system, going back to the Colts, because quite frankly, Peyton Manning ran that offense. It's an extremely uncreative offense. We saw it last year. So forget about the Megatron injury. I get that he comes back. He's going to help Matt Stafford. The scheme itself is what's broken in terms of the fantasy points for Detroit. I think overall it makes them a better team, but in terms of fantasy point stats, the only thing I care about, I think Jim Caldwell's system is, quite frankly, below average.
You don't need a system to throw it up to number 81.
All right.
Is this a part of the fight where we both raise our arms in victory?
That's true.
Is that how it works?
I would, except I really, like Manny Pacquiao, I injured my shoulder. Look, that's going to do it for us. Don't forget, comment to vote on who's the winner of this edition of Fantasy Fights. The winner between us two will appear on Friday's edition of Fantasy Fights right here on YouTube. Vote, click now, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We'll see you.